This week, the lamentations of an obviously passionate yet frustrated alumnus of Ghana's premier and largest university, the University of Ghana.
And it's a matter of substance. What do you churn out? You are churning out people with degrees, not people with an education, not people with skills on how to live. That is the problem.
Of course, this has stirred the honest nest about the quality of university education and the kind of graduates being produced here in the country.
I won't hire anybody. It's simple. And it's a matter of substance. What do you churn out? You are churning out people with degrees, not people with an education, not people with skills on how to live. That is the problem. And respectfully, the old men running this school, there are too many. Get them out. I beg you. You guys are not doing anything that is relevant for the future. And you won't get people wanting to employ the people out of this place. Your MBA students, plenty of them I will hire. Your MBA, your classmates, I won't hire. I was also in that school. University of Ghana, 70th anniversary.
Look at the audience.
What kind of communication went on to promote this program? Meanwhile, we are supposed to have a marketing department at the business school and a whole communication school, whatever it is. Look at the number of people here. This is a school of mediocrity. I must get a degree. That is the reason why people are coming here.
Yeah.
You must make people cease wanting to come for a degree, but people want to come for an education. And with certain skills that make them viable in the future. Your children don't have skills that make them viable for the future. They don't have the thinking. They are robots. Even that robot, they can't even do it. I'm telling you. So if you want to fix it, it starts with you guys as lecturers. It starts with being the thinkers. You guys are not thinking.
Well, we connect for a no-holds-barred conversation about the quality of tertiary education in the country after this break.
Everyone says I'm a Kosia filler, but it's not like I'm nosy or go out to find out the latest filler. It's just that I get 50 megabytes of data free after paying for only the first minute of every call. And so I just keep discovering stuff minute after minute. That's how come I was minding my business, scrolling through my timeline, and I found out Coco has a new baby. Oh, and last week I learned Ken won the lottery. You see, Ken is my brother's friend. So hello, look who's about to roll with the rich and famous.
Enjoy even more value with MTN Free After One. You only pay for the first minute of your call on MTN Free After One, and the rest is free. Plus, you enjoy free 50 megabytes worth of data to browse your favorite sites. Compare where, compare there. So dial *315# to sign up. We day for you everywhere you go. Terms and conditions apply.
The Kingdom Books and Stationery Limited's Back to School promotion is here with us again. From the 1st of August to the 30th of September, Kingdom Books and Stationery Limited is giving a generous 10% discount on all school items like textbooks, pens, pencils, erasers, exercise books, and much more across all our branches in Accra, Tema, Kumasi, Takoradi, and Cape Coast. Parents, teachers, and students, please hurry while stocks last. For more information, call us on 0302 764 101 or 0302-764-209 or email info@kingdomgh.com. You can also visit our website www.kingdomgh.com. Kingdom Books, where quality and affordability are both assured. Terms and conditions apply.
And setting you live on Joy 99.7. My name is Raymond Dakwa, and this is Ghana Connect. Now, distinguished educationist and former Director General of the Ghana Education Service, Professor Jerome Jangma. He's the one who said that his job is a translator between two hostile tribes, the education world and the business world. The people who teach the students and the people who give them the jobs that they have or they want to have. On several occasions, he had caused to argue that Ghana's educational system is not consistently, and I'm quoting him, adding the value and teaching the skills that matter most in the job market. Well, this week, the CEO of the Chamber of Bulk Oil Distributors, Senya Hosi, made similar claims, and this has ignited a very huge debate. I'll let you listen to this particular conversation on that. Then we'll come back and continue with Ghana Connect.
I won't go central, I won't go leg, I won't go Methodist, I won't go tag.
Your MBA students, plenty of them I will hire. This is a school of mediocrity. I must get a degree. That is the reason why people are coming here.
I won't go school, come get good life. But if I can't Bill Gates and Kwame Despite, then I won't Sean.
So if you want to fix it, it starts with you guys as lecturers. It starts with being the thinkers. You guys are not thinking.
He had some points, but they were not well presented. They were distorted, and I don't think enough thought went into it. He was accusing people that they are not able to think, but I thought he advertised worse ways of thinking than one would have expected.
Me, I get leg. They give me dontology. I budget them things. For this economy, hey, Charlie, how?
A university is not a glorified vocational institution where people come to be trained to fit into every type of job that is out there on the market. Your mind is trained to be able to adopt and adapt at a university. That is what a university means. So to come and stand there and say the universities are not training people to go and fit into the world of work, or they are not training innovators, they are not training thinkers, I think it's rather sad. We shouldn't run down our revered institutions that way.
I won't go central, I won't go leg, I won't go Methodist, I won't go tag.
I think that the statement by Senya Hosi were grossly unfortunate. One would have expected a man of his stature who claims to have had 3 degrees from the university that is seeking to run down and is doing well in whatever he's doing now, to at least be grateful for the work the university has done on him as a raw material, and not to spite the hand that fed him. If he were a thinking being, a rational being, he would by now be sending apologies all over for what he said about University of Ghana.
The universities and the other tertiary institutions must work with industry to ensure that the products that are churned out will be relevant to business, to industry, to academia itself, and to the wider public service. Identifying the right ones becomes a tall order, because many years ago, you would have only KNUST, Legon, and UCC. At that time, you had maybe about 3,000-4,000 students coming out. Now you have close to 60,000-70,000 students coming out with various backgrounds.
Me, I get leg. They give me dontology. I budget them things. For this economy, hey, Charlie, how? I will take the house.
There's been several times that some people have thought or have reasoned like the way he's reasoning now, and we're thinking that, well, this is what my predecessors were taught, and so it's going to be repeated. They went for their lecture notes, and during exam, they were found wanting. It doesn't make sense for anybody who is done with school and who has benefited. I mean, we are always recycling notes, and when you came in there to back 3 degrees, it doesn't make sense. It is not true.
Me, I won't go central, I won't go leg, I won't go Methodist, I won't go tag.
He does mention some things that cannot be disputed. The truths in his claim are something that are not particularly confined to the University of Ghana, but I think there are general problems that our educational system as a whole faces. I think the University of Ghana is making some efforts it.
If you come to the Food Science Department of University of Ghana, there are stringent curriculum that train you specifically on how to develop products. I believe that once we find ourselves in this community, the onus is on the students to explore, look out for various avenues they can use to improve themselves. There's a favorable environment. So much of our curricula, some of the departments used, for the lack of a better word, I like to say some of them are a little outdated. The university has a lot to do in terms of catching up by advancing and then catching up with current trend.
The conditions here are fairly favorable. It starts with the population of the university. The numbers of students here are humongous. And you really can't blame the school. It's a public university. They have to meet public demands. Beyond that, there are finances that are the engine that drive the change we want. And does the university have all these things to drive the change? No. And it's these same things that's changed system. The reason why I think that the statements made were quite generalized. They don't nuance and consider the realities of what should be done or like what is causing the challenge. It is just a rant on problems. But did he question or really critique what is causing those challenges? No, he didn't.
Now we know it's tried learning that we have a huge unemployment problem on our hands. The situation is compounded by the fact that over 200,000 students leave school at various levels every year in this country with the hope to get the same non-existent jobs. We cannot forget that if 100 students start preschool today, only 30 of them make it to the universities. So if our brightest end up in the universities, why can't they find their dream jobs? And why was an unemployment grouping called the Unemployment Graduates and the Association formed, the grouping that's called Unemployed Graduates? Why were they formed in the first place? So what is really the goal of education today? Where in the world are the best examples that Ghana can learn from? Well, connected with us live in studio on this all-important topic of whether or not our universities are fit for purpose is Dr. Antoinette Darko. She has a PhD in development studies. She's actually with a team that's currently training some lecturers on university campuses and bringing them up to the standards that people want them to be. And also here in the studios with us is Dr. Kwabena Opoku-Agyeman. He's also a lecturer at the University of Ghana. Doc, you're welcome.
Thank you.
I hope you are doing well this evening.
I am. How are you too?
Yes, and Dr. Antoinette Darko, I hope you are doing well this evening too.
I am.
Great. You are training lecturers, right?
Yes.
How are they faring?
Very well. They are very enthusiastic.
Were they previously good enough or substandard before you brought them up to the standard required?
They are good enough. You cannot question the content knowledge that any academic has.
And again, you teach at the University of Ghana, the School of Social Policy Studies, right?
Yes, Center for Social Policy Studies.
Yes, that particular center will be part of our conversation later on. But the other guest I have here is a very interesting man. Recently, I read an article on Harvard's website that this gentleman's quest, leaving Harvard Graduate School, was to fix the unemployment problem in this country. Max Saba, you're welcome, sir.
Thank you very much.
I hope you are doing well.
Doing fantastic.
And we'll be connecting live to you out there. You can do so via WhatsApp and 0244 340437 0244 340437. We'll be heading to the KNUST and we'll be speaking to a member of the University Council there. We'll also later be connecting to two Ghanaian students in the U.S. One is in the U.S., the other is in Germany too. In the U.S. is the very gentleman by the name Ismail Annan. He's a PhD student at Georgetown University, and well, he's got 2 degrees from the University of Ghana. Senior was here 3, so now the competition is how many you have from that particular university, and then it'll be interesting to know what the conversation is supposed to be. And in Germany is currently Raf Nyadu Ado. He used to teach at the Kwame Nkrumah University of Science and Technology. He was a senior lecturer there, and he's actually doing his PhD studies in Germany on entrepreneurship and in the creative industry, more importantly. We'll be connecting to Germany too. So you can also connect with us, and you can do so via 0244 340437, and that's the WhatsApp line. Connect with us on Ghana Connect. And ladies and gentlemen, you're welcome once again.
Thank you.
So let me start from you, Dr. Antoinette. Mindful of what you do in the university, when you heard somebody who's passionate and loves the University of Ghana so much and he's not hidden that particular fact. I mean, his latest writings indicates that he wants the best for the school, saying he has heard and seen teachers. He's also seen the standards of the students that are being produced for the school. They just don't cut it. How did you feel?
I felt awful. I felt as if being a product of the University of Ghana, if you have a problem with the University of Ghana, you come to management and you talk about it. And I also felt that he hasn't really closely followed on what has happened in the university. If not, he would have known that there's a lot going on. So in terms of training,
this is regardless of the fact that the university itself invited him as a prestigious alumnus to be part of their engagements in this case.
Exactly.
And where he spoke was a gathering of people from within the university to look into their own future, isn't it?
Yes, exactly.
Did you feel like, obviously, you have not done enough, that's why he was portraying to you?
I felt more like we probably haven't trumpeted what we are doing enough.
Okay.
And I also felt that the change that is coming hasn't occurred fast enough for people like Senyo to appreciate.
Okay, it's interesting. I'll be coming back to you. My other guest also teaches at the University of Ghana.
Yes.
Doc, when you heard the comments from one of your own who's been part of the school, who's still part of the school, saying he will not employ MBA graduates from the school, how did you feel?
I was not surprised because his reaction was symptomatic of how Ghanaians in general talk about things that don't concern them directly. So I'll give you a few examples. In this country, and I think it's even a normal thing almost anywhere, we tend to complain about others, and yet when people complain about us, then we tend to speak about why and how they shouldn't complain about us. So for example, if I criticize journalists right now and told you about how journalists don't do a good job, let's say interviewing, researching, and so on and so forth, you will give me reasons why.
We get that all the time. I mean, we don't complain.
You actually do. A lot of time, right? But then, in the same way, pastors would complain if you criticize them about something. The same way politicians complain, like you hear MPs complain about why and how they can't do what they're supposed to do. So in the same way, when he complained about us, I was not surprised. But I could also ask him, for instance, in one of his responses, he said that he was not able to get people to come because he had got the invitation 5 days before. So in the end, he was making excuses when he was being criticized.
Okay.
So the same thing that we all do regardless. So
and it's the same way you would defend the school the way you are doing it in a very nice way. I get you, yes.
No, so I would say let's not necessarily defend, but let's look at the bigger problem.
Okay, so it's the bigger problem I want us to put on the right table here.
Okay.
There are some issues you raised specifically. He said university management did not have strategic thinkers. That's how he explained it later on.
Sure.
Then proceeded to say that the students themselves lack critical thinking. And this is something, and that difference ought to be noted. He didn't say that he wanted people who will fit into his field, know energy and know the details of that. He wanted people who are smart enough so that whichever tuition he'll give them on the job, they can quickly grab it and do the innovation he wants them on the job. That is what he says he's not getting. Now, let me start from University of Ghana because that's where the contention has been. Do your students in the university, do they get the basics of critical thinking, being able to think on their feet, being able to innovate on their own? Do they get that training?
Yes, they do.
How are they able to get that?
If you are taking through critical thinking, it's a basic course. We even have University of Ghana required courses which you do in level 100. And a lot of these courses are supposed to teach you how to think. Now, I'll just have to tell you something here. Our problem with education is not from the university. Our problem with education in Ghana starts from the basic level right to the secondary school level. And so at the university level, I needed to ask, how much can you inculcate in a student?
It's a 4-year program, right?
It's a 4-year program. You can teach a student to be critical and innovative. But if a student already comes there with a preconceived mind that all I need to do here is to pass my examinations and get out, the student ends up coming in, doing things how they want to do it, and then they leave. And at the end of the day, it becomes challenging for university lecturers with limited resources, limited infrastructure, and appropriate methodologies to deliver to university students.
Let me put you on hold. Let me come to Mark. At the end of the day, these people are supposed to get jobs. You started education here at the University of Ghana, right? And you've gone elsewhere. You've been to Harvard. You've been to Oxford too.
Cambridge.
Yeah, Cambridge, rather. So you've been to perhaps the best schools in the world. Is there a difference in the training being delivered here at the University of Ghana as you received compared to what you got elsewhere?
Well, I mean, that's an interesting question. I mean, at the end of the day, what is the difference? I think, first and foremost, I want to comment on the gentleman's comments at the University of Ghana. In many ways, some of those things are valid, and it's important for us to draw attention to some of those. And that's what...
So we don't generalize. Specifically, what did he say that was valid?
No, I mean, within the context of what he said about the need to sort of inculcate critical thinking and all of that into the students. But before I get to that, I wanted to talk about how that has allowed us, all of us, to be having conversations about sort of the frailties within our educational system and the need for us to work in order to have that resolved. That being the case, I think it's important to evaluate the gentleman's comment or sort of his assertion about the inadequacies of the university authorities, or for that matter, the students and also the professors, within the broader context of Ghana, for instance. Because are we actually looking at, in the broader scheme of things, are the professors getting the support they need from say, government?
Okay.
Those that got their PhDs a long time ago, are they getting retrained? Are we providing infrastructure for them so that they're getting up-to-the-minute information within their field, so they'll be able to and deliver that kind of training to our young people? But that being the case, I think critical thinking is important without a scintilla of doubt, but the university can only do so much. I think a lot also rests on a student.
I'll get to that point, but you, at the time you were in the school, were you taught critical thinking?
Well, critical thinking, I think when I was there wasn't any class on that, and I've been away.
It wasn't a generalized course.
There wasn't any class on critical thinking.
Okay.
To be honest.
Okay.
But that was a long time ago, and I don't have enough data to make a
so give me a second, Doc. When you say that you've introduced it, which period did you bring in these critical thinking courses?
I know in level 100. You see, what I wanted to point to you before we even got here is, as he rightly said, you are a university lecturer. Every university lecturer, once you hold a PhD, has excellent content knowledge. When it comes to modes of delivery, that is where I differ. And that is why Senyo's initial statement caused a stir, because for all of us as university lecturers, it was time to rethink the way you've been delivering.
Okay.
Because if you have been delivering in a fashion that does not make the student employable, then you are also you are sub-changing the student more or less. So you need to rethink your modes of delivery. And that is where I explained to you that the systemic change has started.
Okay.
These critical thinking courses have been introduced. I left the University of Ghana 22 years ago, and I went back there in 2011 for a PhD. And I had to do a course in critical thinking at the PhD level. So as far as I'm concerned, Senyo is behind times because he doesn't know what change has evolved in the university.
Okay, that's interesting.
But can I cut in quickly here
yes,
to say that?
I'll come to you, Doc, but I'll go to the phone lines because you're connecting across the world. From Germany, we'll be speaking to one of the people who's pursuing a PhD study there. Ralph is on the line. Ralph, we thank you so much for connecting with us on this particular one. There's a question that matters on this plate because I need comparison. What you studied here in Ghana and what you are getting up there in Germany, do you think they are basically the same? They are preparing students to be of the same quality, and our universities are fit for purpose?
Hello?
If you can hear me, Ralph, yes. Hello, Ralph. Well, I should be able to fix the phone lines and speak to. And of course, I also do have there a member of the Council of the KNUST and managing partner of Sarkodie Bafwe J Legal Consult, Nana J Bafwe Watu, who I've been speaking to on the phone line. But let me come in studio when I'm able to fix that phone line.
Okay, so can I say quickly about critical thinking that it is inbuilt into different subjects. So it's not as if you just have to learn critical thinking as a course before you can think critically.
Okay.
So in English, for instance, when you're doing literature, almost anything you do has to do with critical thinking. So it's not as if you have to say
But do you test students on questions that seek
in
to
English,
bring out their critical thinking?
Yes, in English you do so. So when you are analyzing a text, a movie, a book, a play, or whatever, you ask certain questions and use evidence from a text to make your argument. That is critical thinking.
Okay, I get your point, but I'll be coming back. Let me go to the phone lines now and speak to Ralph, who is actually connecting with us from Germany, and also Nana J. Bafwe, who is also joining us from KNUST. We understand. Welcome, gentlemen, to Ghana Connect. If you can hear me, gentlemen, you're welcome to Ghana Connect.
Hello?
Yes, gentlemen, you're welcome to Ghana Connect.
Hello, good evening.
Yes, so Ralph, let me start with you. I was asking about the difference in the experience schooling in Ghana and schooling in Germany. Do you think the Ghanaian universities are actually positioned for the purpose and delivering the quality expected of them?
This is not Ralph. This is Nana Ejibafuwa.
Brilliant. Nana, I can actually pick it up with you because, yes. Can you hear me, Nana?
Yes, I can hear you.
So the conversation is beyond the University of Ghana. It's about the quality delivered at the various tertiary institutions across the country. Do you think currently KNUST, for example, is delivering the standards that's expected of them?
Now, it's not just about my experience at KNUST. I did my first degree in Ghana. I've also done extensive studies, including my professional studies in England as a lawyer. And I also taught at a university in London, Commonwealth University College. And I've taught at universities in Ghana. I think that there's a problem, there's a misconception about what the universities are for. And so when you listen to Mr. Senyo Hosi clearly, he was speaking from a misconceived position. And I realized that even some of your panelists, with the greatest of respect, the lecturer from Brenda, from Legon, seems to also have a bit of that misconception. Look, no university would generally teach any program called critical thinking. To begin with, university education, particularly first degrees, are supposed to, by the nature, scope, and structure of their programs, give you, one, enhance your analytical skills, two, your confidence in terms of presentation, three, imbibe in you solid work ethics, including, or among other things, ability to meet deadlines, being diligent, right, and being meticulous, which are very key, attributes that you need for work. And so first degree is not supposed to give you any particular skill by way of evocation, because universities are a place of, it's academia, it's academic. And so it does not necessarily have to give you a skill, right? And so, for instance, if you go to a country like England, people do classics, linguistics, history, yet end up working for banks. If you go to America, for instance, most of their professional courses are not done at the first degree level. They are postgraduate. And so people then end up postgraduate deciding, for instance, some people might have done biology or science, yet move on to go into the accounting area. A lot of them end up working for some of the blue chip accounting firms. Postgraduate, they end up doing CPAs. They end up proceeding to do law. And so first degree, naturally or generally, is meant to enhance your thinking skills. And so it is not just about, or it is not simply about any course called critical thinking. No.
I get you.
The courses in general, in their nature, are structured such that your analytical skills are enhanced.
Okay, now
your ability to you are conditioned such that you have the sense of urgency to meet deadlines, which is very important at the workplace.
I get that. I'm not disputing that. The point here is to be able to find out from you whether the schools in this country impart that kind of knowledge. That is what Senor is complaining about. That is what some employers are complaining about. And they are insisting that they have to actually scheme. Let's say 1,000 students have to come for some interview. Then they end up with just 2 or 3. That difficult process of having to go through a huge number they expect to have the basics, who don't have those basics, is where the problem really is.
Okay. University of Ghana, KNUST, University of Cape Coast, and other universities in this country, particularly the traditional universities, government, public universities, they are the same yesterday, today, and forevermore. We need to agree to this point. These are the same universities that have produced presidents in this country. These are the same universities that have produced great managers like Ishmael Janssen, like, what's his name, Mr. Ison Benjamin. These are the same universities. We need to ask ourselves, what has primarily changed with our universities. Okay? That is where we need to start from. Because it's not as if we have always had a bad university in this country, or our universities have always been bad.
I get you.
We have had universities. Our universities have produced great managers, great leaders, great generals, great physicians, and great lawyers, great judges. And so the problem has to do with some change that we are presently experiencing.
And that's the change that I want us to focus and see what we can do about it.
I'm going to focus on that.
But give me a second. Let me talk to the other person on the phone. I'll come back to you.
I beg you. For instance, when you have a political science department, for instance, at the University of Ghana, that has about 2,000 to 3,000 students in the classroom and has one lecturer teaching these students. I mean, it is not the same in Oxford. It's not the same in Cambridge. University of Ghana is supposed to be our best university when it comes to the liberal arts. And so these are the things we need to be addressing. And so when you go and talk and make it as if, the lecturers are bad and so on and so forth, I think that it wasn't properly taught through.
Brilliant. Let me put you on hold. Let me go to Ralph, because I have two students in here joining me. These students were nodding when you were mentioning the huge number of people in the class or so. I'll come to them and deal with that particular issue. But Ralph is also on the phone lines. Ralph, you actually connected with us live from Germany. I want you to basically draw a line or compare the two for me. What's the difference between the education system here at the university level and that of Germany?
Well, good evening to your audience, and sorry for the interruption. But we don't have much difference, but the German educational system is in different segments. For instance, certain types of engineering, certain types of courses are done at the Fachhochschule, that is University of Applied Sciences. These are hands-on institutions when people are taught various professions. And the professors there are people who have worked in industry, they have their PhD, and they are given professorship to teach them hands-on. It is only a few who manage to get into the university. My University of Leipzig is 609 years old, and those who come here are those who finish the Abitur. That is the creme de la creme. They come here. And they have a lot of independence. And even there is now a new law which says that lectures are not even compulsory, but examination is compulsory. So you can get your information from anywhere. So what they do is that they give them that independence, a lot of teamwork, and they work together so that they'll be able to produce something. Entrepreneurship, for instance, has been introduced, but it's not across board, unlike a place like Boston University in the U.S. where they have entrepreneurship across borders. But when you come to Ghana, the other speaker was talking about numbers. The teaching still remains the same. They are trying to do modernization. A lot of us are taking through even how to teach, because not all of us went through teacher training. The universities are doing quite a lot, but certain facilities are not there. In my time in the university in the early 90s, class of there were 7 students, 9 students. Our class was the biggest, 44, and it was a big problem for them. Now we are talking about my department of 200 or so, some 300, some 700. It becomes a bit of a challenge handling all this, but that is not to say our students are not good. It might interest you to know that the person who is handling my PhD, most of it happens to be my former student. My first batch of students I taught. Some of my students have finished their masters in the same department I am, and they are assisting me as research assistant. Ghanaian students are really good when they travel overseas. So we can't say our lecturers are not doing their best, but it's the facilities and the way we are handling things.
So if there's a problem with facilities, it will actually affect the quality that we are actually putting out there, won't it?
Yes, it will in a way, but the university is compensating. For instance, in the Department of Population Studies, you have 1 year internship. I heard Mr. Frimpong, which we've worked with so much. They have a lot of programs lined up for this internship programs. They were talking about numbers. There are simple solutions to this. Why should everybody go during the long vac? Now, some departments in KNUST, instead of going, everybody leaving for the long vac, some decide to change.
Okay.
So it's a matter of we thinking through what we are doing. Industry has been waiting for us.
Ralph is a PhD student. And Ralph, let me put you on hold for a second. I'm also connecting live to Ismail. Ismail is in the United States of America there, and I'm comparing experiences and seeking to get the difference in this particular case. Ismail, you are at Georgetown University, right?
Yes, I am.
And I want you to tell me, what's the difference between the education you got here in Ghana and what you get out there at Georgetown?
First of all, I want to thank you so much for having me, and a good evening to your panel and all the others joining the discussion. I've been following the discussion for a while, and what immediately comes to my mind is the fact that there is a cultural difference that we seem to be forgetting in this whole discussion. So over here in the U.S., and I must admit that I've been here for just a month, but it is very clear that this is a system here which deals or which encourages students to be, number one, innovative, students to be initiative or to be initiators, students to be independent, and also they engender a sort of competition with their own self. And I said that this is a cultural thing that we do not have in Ghana. And so whatever underlies the discussion I'm going to have with you, I want us to start off from this point that I'm making, that it is a cultural difference which we do not find in Ghana.
I get you.
So these American students take these qualities into the classroom, and that makes the difference. For instance, over here, students are cultured to talk. They are cultured to express themselves, and they do these expressions through writing and talking. So by the time you are thinking of what to say, a typical American student might have said about 1,000 words or written about 1,000 words already. And that is what we do not have ingrained in our education system or in our culture back home in Ghana.
Good point.
I think that is the basic difference. Apart from that, we have equally good and quality lecturers. We have people doing the job just as it's supposed to be done.
That's brilliant to note. Let me actually come in studio here and speak to two students I did tell you about. Safo is here with Solomon. Gentlemen, you're welcome. Now, let me get this point clarified from you. When you are in your final year, or you're still in school.
Final year, yes.
Do you think that you're about to leave school, that you've gotten the best kind of education that you really deserved, and you're prepared for the job market out there? Yes, Solomon first.
Okay, so then I can't necessarily assess that is the best because this is my first undergraduate degree, so I can't really tell. But definitely there are lapses, but I really can't blame the lapses on just UG because let's face it, quality.
So let's go. What are these lapses specifically?
First off, lecturer-student relationship. It's a big deal because lecturers are going to be the agents who are changing our lives and molding us for the job markets out there. But where in my economics class we are about 700 to 1 lecturer, you really can't expect that particular person to deal with every single person.
I see.
So quality is concomitant with quantity. Once quantity is huge, quality will be dwindled. That's the issue. So my lecturer would want us to have a presentation, anything to assess how you are really nurturing yourself. But she can't assess everyone, and so just a few get to do it, and the other sits down and just watch us. And it's the case in many other classes. Political science even worse because they have huge numbers there. And I get it. Legon is a public university, so then they have to meet public demands. And so perhaps the narrative should go beyond just the school Legon or other individual schools to the entire structure. Decentralized education such that everyone everywhere gets a good education and does not have to rush into very few schools to put pressure on the system.
I get your point. Safo, the points your colleague made about class sizes and the quantity and the quality relationship in this case, do you identify with all of them?
Yeah, I think that's absolutely true. You asked the question as to whether we are ready for the job market. I think the question for me right now is, am I prepared for the GPA I'm going to get? Because that's the situation we get in the system. I don't want to leave school without having a good GPA. And he said something on cultural difference, which I think is true because you don't necessarily have to blame the university.
I can force you to get closer to the microphone for me.
Even if the university has a role to play, all right, but then the university is not like the sole actor, which is to be blamed. Is the way we've been brought up. We've been brought up in home in a manner that we are not getting ready to be prepared for the job market. We are just getting ready to come out as a first-class student or a second-class upper student. For the numbers...
For a second, Senor Hosi was right when he said you're not getting education, holistic one. You're just getting a degree out of the school.
Yeah, Senor Hosi had a lot of truth in what he said, but then I think there's generalization in most of the stuff he said because I also know students who are very good, who've also developed themselves personally beyond what they've been taught by UG.
And they put in the extra effort to do that.
They put in the extra effort to do that. So when it goes like we just seek knowledge. So for example, we're in the debate society. We would want to learn more because doing something like international law, I'm able to do it because in the debate society, I learn a lot of things about what's going on around the world and stuff like that. Things I can apply beyond the thoughts and criminal law I'm taught in class.
Okay, that's interesting to know. And you're a law student, right? Yes. Okay, well, I'll be coming back to you, but let me get to the phone lines and get to... You are making that point for me, Ishmael, and that's the point I want you to clarify briefly. The difference in cultural experiences and how it ends up being, do you think that we can match up anytime soon?
I believe we are able to match up so long as individual students take the initiative to know what they are lacking. You see, the point I wanted to make is the fact that you have the general tertiary education, whose model is basically to cultivate the mind of the student, to refine the character of the student, to afford the student the skills of what is needed outside of school, so that whether the person decides to further the education or whether the person decides to go into a vocational kind of work, they may be able to do that perfectly. And at such level, you cannot expect the lecturer or whoever the teacher is to be equipping you with the so-called skills that Senior was talking about. Raymond, are you following my point?
Yes, I'm getting your point.
So at that basic level of higher education, where you are generally being taught about theories, it is your responsibility as the student, knowing what lays outside of you in the job market, to go the extra mile. Back in the university, I had colleagues who would never go for any extracurricular activities, who would never go for any seminar activities, who would never go for any activities outside of the classroom. Now, when you go through such an education, taking up all the theories and not building your confidence level, not building your skills in writing, not building your skills in speaking in public and gaining confidence when you are articulating your own ideas, you cannot blame the lecturer, because, like you have rightly said, the lecturer or the university can do just so much.
But is it imbued in your education system that you can get these even if you don't make the extra effort to get them? Is it within your system?
Of course.
Come again.
I'm asking whether the system we have in this country, does it position anybody to get these skills you're talking about without going the extra mile, joining a debate society, or doing something extraordinary to get it? Do we have such systems?
I can speak for the history department, because that is where I was from.
Okay.
And I can confidently say that not all the lecturers inculcate these things into their manner of delivery when they are in the classroom.
Okay, now, hold on. I get you. Yes. Ismail, give me a second. Forgive me. Give me a second. Let me come in studio and let me talk to both Solomon. If you didn't try on your own to join the Investor Debate Society, the skills you learned from there, would you have gotten them?
No, I would not. I wouldn't have. Reason why I would go to my class and in every presentation I would outsmart everyone else, because the others aren't getting those. And the huge narrative out there is come to school, get a degree, and go.
So let me
finish.
Okay.
There's actually an active voice telling you to not focus on these other things as well, because it will distract you.
Okay.
But guess what? There are relevant things in there that you need as well. And if you don't go in there, you will miss out.
Okay, so who told you to go to join there?
Myself.
Exactly.
It was the culture I got. It was the culture I got from my senior high school. Because back in Presec, debate was very, very active. And so I came in there knowing I wanted to do this.
That's
more.
very true. I can testify.
Exactly.
But you are not daddy, I'm sure.
I have parents. And let me add this. Last semester, I went to Nigeria to debate. There was Ghana Vision Nigeria.
Oh, my University of Ibadan.
Exactly.
I see. I did that. Anyway.
My lecturer told me point blank, economics is a science. Debate has no place in here. I would advise you to stop it. And guess what? Things like being assertive, speaking out, and then being vocal are things I don't get in that class. But I'll go to an internship where I'm expected to show these things, and I don't have those skills.
But then see, the thing is, and I wouldn't want to sound defensive or anything, but I think everywhere and how you go about things. So in my class, I encourage my students to talk and to challenge me on things. So actually, I was teaching Shakespeare last year, and halfway through the class, a student raises the hand and asks me that, so he's confused in my class. And I say, why? And he says that, the way I teach, he doesn't know how the exams will be like. And I say, what do you mean? And he says, when they say things, I find sense in the things they say, so that even when people say different things, they are all right. And I said, but then that's how learning should be. I shouldn't come and tell you what it is before you actually do it.
But it's your standard what is practiced across the country.
So then you see, there are stereotypes. So I can't say everyone does it the way I do. Everyone doesn't do it the way I do.
I think I also do the same. And that's exactly what I was
Okay, so now getting two of you this.
I need you to understand that what he did was to put everybody into one basket, and which was totally wrong. To say that you, the old people, there is a whole young crop of academics
and even the old ones aren't all bad.
And the old ones are not bad. They made us what we have become today. So I cannot understand. No, it's about, I told you, it's about delivery modes. So I choose to use videos, e-cases, role plays, simulations to deliver my content to students. And that's what the pedal program I told you about is. We are training university academics or university faculty to use those new teaching methodologies.
Because you identify they lack it.
We identify. Some of them, they don't lack it. Some of them have heard about it, but they don't know how to use it. One of the serious problems we have is power. Imagine if I go to class intending to use a video to teach my students and the power goes off. That was my initial plan.
Oh, really?
I now have to go to plan B. What is plan B?
Can I add one
PowerPoint presentation. So you see, you need to bring all these challenges. And I want to make it known. The university is prepared to partner industry. We even invited industry to our training program. We said, come and point to us your needs, which you think the students are not. And we will incorporate these needs into our teaching. I invite people from industry to teach my students. I have guest lecturers every semester coming to teach my students. But like he said, I am a graduate teacher, so I'm able to do it. I have a maximum of 25 students, so I'm able to have that personal relationship with them. But at the undergraduate level, it becomes difficult. And those are challenges that are difficult for us as lecturers. And we are sitting and discussing it. We are not totally obvious of what is happening.
I want to know these issues you have raised. Are they the isolated, less likely to happen cases, or your examples you're citing this studio here is the predominant case on all university campuses?
Well, you see, the challenges are uniform. Let me give you an example. I was teaching last year, and I had an international student from Rochester University in New York. So one day, I just asked in class, how much do you pay for tuition or for your school fees every year? And she said $70,000. If you multiply that by the current rates, it's how much? Almost
30,000.
No, 400,000
Ghana
cedis
yes.
every year. And I asked the Ghanaian students, how much do you pay? They said 2,000 cedis. So what she could spend in 2 days is what people spent in a whole year for their school fees. So imagine just 100 people at her school paying $70,000 a year. How much resources will they have? So then when you compare us to Ashesi, for instance, and you have only 800 students in Ashesi, this guy has 700 students in his class. Okay, and Ashesi, how much do they pay per year? So you see, we shouldn't assume like the universities have all the resources and are messing up. The government can have money to build a cathedral and have money to build all these unnecessary things, and yet they won't fund these. They won't fund us to do things. And yet
another thing I wanted to point out, when industry starts to make such criticism, tell industry to come and help us. The pedal project that I'm speaking so loudly about is being funded by UK Aid. Where is the Dangote in Ghana? Dangote Foundation is funding University of Ibadan to do a lot of things. Why hasn't BOST, Ghana Chamber of Oil, why are they not bringing back to the university some funding for us to do capacity building? The university does not have budget for capacity building. We are struggling. So at the end of the day, criticize, but as you criticize, construct. Give us back what we need so that we can give to the students. There is no university lecturer who doesn't want to see their students excel.
And listen to these
For
guys.
what we are paid as university lecturers, my only pride I have is to see my students. And when I see my students and they are employed, they tell me I have a job and I'm doing well. It's so exciting and rewarding.
It's interesting to know that.
So I don't see why we wouldn't want to give our best.
Yes, let me bring you Mark. Because, Mark, you saw that there was a problem. And again, all of this is because most of the students, when they go out of school, they don't get jobs to do. The vision of every student leaving school is to be able to get a job to do.
Are there jobs?
Where are these jobs?
Where are the jobs?
But some get the jobs to do, don't they?
Does Joy FM have jobs?
Okay, but to be fair, if you want to be recruited here today, if you have the right skills, you get recruited.
Really?
The problem here is whether or not you're able to get the right skills, and the people coming out of school might not have the skills.
So you're
to do
telling
that.
me all the Ghanaians in this country who have come to apply here don't have the prerequisite skills?
No.
Are you telling me right now?
In your defense,
Okay, yes.
I think when you take the University of Ghana, that's why you have things like Radio Universe, where people train for this. So when you come here and you have that skill you got from UG, I'm not sure Joy will say no in employing.
And let me add to this. I think it's very unfair for Mr. Hosi to assume the university is doing nothing about this, because the university invests a lot in other things. The debate we are speaking of is heavily funded by Sports Aggregator University. So the university actually does do these things. They actually support us. But it's about the narrative. Do students know about these things so much? No, they don't. And the narrative out there clouds their judgments, and so they are not really incentivized to come into these areas. And so the university is actually investing in these other things that will equip you with skills, because clearly you can't get everything in the classroom. So then it's about getting us to spread out these things. And
I get you.
Solomon.
Where do we bridge the gap? This difference, this apparent difference between what the expectation of the people like Senor Hosi want and what they want in the students and what is really being delivered by the schools. Where do we bridge the gap, Saba?
And I think that's an interesting question. I mean, I think it's important to unpack the whole issue from so many of the components that actually contribute to it. It's very easy to place that on the shoulders of professors or one person or the other person. But I think it's important for us to tease out many of these. I went to Harvard. I just graduated from Harvard. And for me, before Harvard, I was at
Can you get closer to the microphone
right.
from me? Yeah.
Before Harvard, I was at Columbia and Cambridge. The difference, even between those three universities, is resources. At Harvard, I had the unique opportunity to be able to pursue many of the things I wanted to do, because the university was very dedicated to making sure that students actually have the finances to do that. I was in Mexico and China just this past January, in Japan, to pursue many of the things that I thought were very central to some of the things I wanted to do. Now, could you make a compelling case that happens at the University of Ghana? Maybe yes, maybe no. But that being the case, I think it's important that, as the Professor mentioned, that a lot of support is given them, be that financial and otherwise, and infrastructure, and many of the things that they need. And so I think that you did ask a question initially about sort of the discord between what the university produces and what the job market needs. And that requires a degree of research. It requires a degree of symbiosis between the two actors in that space, so that they both understand each other, to say that, look, this is what the university is producing. As you mentioned earlier, a university education is supposed to give you that liberal arts, that broad-based understanding of issues. Now, it's up to you to be able to take a trajectory that you feel is very central to your career. Now, for instance, I had when we were at the University of Ghana, for instance, I had a friend called Addison Golo. And while most of us were just focused on studying and making sure we got a first class, he knew exactly what he wanted. So he focused excessively on acquiring other skills that the gentleman just mentioned, debate, involve himself in how to even write a resume and things of the sort. So over the long pull, he got a job. I, on the other hand, went to university overseas. Now, you asked the question if University of Ghana is competitive. I mean, the education that I got over here gave me the foundation on which I built many of the things I did, even at Columbia, at Cambridge, and even Harvard. So the education here, without a doubt, has its own benefits. It has its own strength. That being the case, I think it's important for us to recognize that there are some things we need to work on. Sure. One, it's important that our students understand sort of the technological component. One of the things that I struggled with when I first moved to the U.S., for instance, was that. If you were studying, say, statistics and you weren't using Stata or SPSS and things of the sort, which my time was very, very minimal and scanty, I couldn't say that for now. Those are all very,
You don't use data tables there? Oh, it's not called data tables when you're doing statistics.
Or log tables.
Like, yes.
So for Cambridge or even Columbia and Harvard, you use computer savvy is very, very important.
Okay.
Technological skills are very important. You get hands-on, and there's so much resource, and that comes back to, like, it's important that the people are supported to get the resources. If you graduated, let's say, in 1970, and you haven't been up to speed with what's going on in your field of endeavor, how would you be able to transfer that to the students?
I see.
So these are all important issues that need to be looked at, and I think it's fairly easy to say that this is what the professors aren't doing, but we need to be able to understand and the ecosystem and be able to pinpoint many of the components that actually contribute to that, and then be able to nitpick on those and tackle those, and then over the long pull, they all kind of coalesce into solving the issue.
So you raised two issues. One, that they need to bridge a certain technological gap, which is currently existing in the various schools. I want to be clear in my mind whether that can be done anytime soon, because you also raise a constraint with resource. Can it be done anytime soon?
I don't know if I can answer that question.
Okay, let me go to
but
that.
I can speak to some of the issues.
Dr. Darko,
because
yeah.
what some of the things that the training program was doing is telling you as a lecturer that, hey, you could get an internet problem, you could get a break in internet when you are showing a video. So it teaches you how to download your video. It teaches you how to even make videos of your own. It teaches you how to collect documentaries. That gives students real time and real life examples, So there are ways that you can make lectures, and even teaches you how to handle large classes, put them into groupings, how to, to make all of this, make lecturer-student relationship closer, easier. And one of the things that I always want to point out is this training also tells you that you are no longer a teacher, you are a facilitator. So you are facilitating knowledge acquisition. So don't assume
the paradigm
that students,
is changing.
It's changing. Don't assume that the student doesn't know. The student knows. You are guiding the student to know better. You are guiding the student to think in the way that makes real life examples possible.
This is a new trend. This is a new trend.
It's a new trend.
So we expect that those who missed out on the particular new trend, a new crop of people are going to be the beneficiaries, right?
A new crop of people will benefit more.
Yeah, okay. Well, that's
I benefited.
Yeah,
yes.
let's
but
not
they
make
would
look as if
benefit
in the past
in
we
the
had
past
a
it
trash
wasn't
thing
that.
and it has changed now.
Okay, now let me go to the phone lines and get to actually connect with the people who are actually talking to us. Ismail is in the US and Raf is also with us in Germany. So, Raf, going forward, 2 quick things we ought to do to bridge this gap that we've been trying to deal with now.
Thank you. I think the industry-academia relationship should be strengthened, and we shouldn't sit in our university waiting for them to come. We've instituted a convention in KNUST where anytime a vice chancellor comes, he visits industry to share with them what they also the expectation is, and we work together. We also have to go through refresher courses, and KNUST, for instance, there is summer school every time to refresh our mind. In terms of supervision, lecturers are also being supervised. The rules are strict. You cannot do whatever you like. In the same way, the students should also be a little bit proactive and serious. We should give them that independence and give them resources. Fortunately, there are a lot of e-materials in the system in Ghana now that the students should take advantage of. So I think we should stop the blame game. We should all come together and forge ahead in unison instead of blaming one another, because we need collective solution instead of we blaming one another. It wouldn't help us.
Very well. Many thanks to you.
We are doing very well.
Raf is a PhD student in Germany. He's also a senior lecturer at KNUST. He's actually been teaching until he took time to go and do his studies there. Now, let me come into the wrap up with my guest here. So, 2 things. You talked about what is required for you to move forward. And I asked the question about whether or not when you leave school today, you land the job that you want or you think you're not qualified for it. What should be done immediately to make sure you're qualified for it?
I think it's just enhancing more on these other things. They already exist. It's just about strengthening the systems and making access to them easier. That way, we get more access to them and then better ourselves.
So thank you so much. Let me hear from you, Safo.
Yeah, honestly, I think there should be a stronger and a better student-lecturer relationship where they get to know where our faults are, where they get to know that this thing about you is not qualified for the job market, where they can and they don't have to be scary or difficult to approach. You get it? Because some of the lecturers are fun.
You still have hot tutors, right? You have hot tutors.
Yeah, we have hot, and we are friends with them. Commonwealth, we are all like boys over there. You get it?
Yeah.
So they're the ones to correct us.
Finally, Doc, the direct comments from the students on how they ought to be treated. Don't scare them.
We don't scare them. I don't scare my students. I think, and I can proudly say my students
can't. Anyway.
I can't, but I think, yes, it's true. There are some lecturers that still scare students. And I think these are issues that we must take constructively and we must work together to make things better.
Yes, and the commitment also from Dr. Ajiman, the things the students have talked about.
I'm not scary to my students at all. My students feel very free with me, at least. I just quickly, I wanted to say hello to all those who are listening. People have been asking me to give them a shout out. Very quickly.
Because my time is up. Yes, let me speak to Ismail. Ismail is in the US. Ismail, finally, one thing that can be done to deliver what Senior Osi considers to be the standard.
It's very simple. I remember when I got here, I spoke with a grade 5 student who was taking a computer science program during the summer, and she just said that she will be interested in taking that program at the university. So, like, right from the basis, she's going the extra mile just
Okay.
so that she can acquire some skills on that. And
Mm.
that's just the point I want to make to Ghanaian students, that if you want to be competitive on the world market,
They should
you
take their
must go
destiny
the
into their
extra
own
mile.
hands.
Exactly. The lecturer or the professor at the university can only give you so much. But you knowing where you want to go with the kind of education you're receiving, you always have to go the extra mile.
Oh, wait, the last word is to you, Saba. Thank you so much, but you conclude for me.
Yeah, without a scintilla of doubt. I think to piggyback on what the gentleman said, I think it's important that the university can only do so much for students. It behooves you to make sure that you actually are able to push forward and make sure that you're able to acquire the skills that you actually want. That'll help you be competitive. I'm kind of surprised that the professor didn't even talk about remuneration because if you have to if you have to like consult,
but they say they are not delivering. You can't talk about remuneration and not delivering.
But that's a component because if you're not getting
It's a
enough money and
motivation.
you have to consult for other
Okay,
people,
well-
it takes away time to be able to focus excessively on
Okay.
teaching alone, right?
Ladies and gentlemen,
So-
thank you so much for joining
Right.
us, and thank you also out there for connecting with us on Ghana Connect today.